Where did I get all these waders? There's old canvas and rubber, neoprene, breathables, hip boots. They're my old hunting waders, and they represent over 35 years of duck hunting and searching for the perfect wader. Have I found it? Well, stick around. I'm Joel Strickland, and this is Surviving Duck Season. Why in the world did I keep all these things? Thanks for watching Surviving Duck Season, where we feed your waterfowl obsession and help you to maximize your hunting experience. Now today, I'm going to be telling you about my journey with waders over the past 30 some odd years, trying to find the perfect wader. And I have an incredible story of one guy who was so fed up with horrible waders, he created his own. And then a little later, I'll have some tips for you on best practices in getting the most out of your waders. But before I get into the video, I wanted to answer a question that many of you have asked, and that is, when's High and Dry gonna have more waders to sell? Well, in the last few days, I've been told that High and Dry has inventory. So if you want some High and Dry waders, you'd better go to their website quick. Links in the description. This video is sponsored by High and Dry Waders, and I'm very grateful to them for supporting this channel and providing a great product. I'm very particular about the products and companies that I do talk about on this channel, and when I work with a company, they know that I'm going to just tell it like it is. I don't accept money from a company just to say nice things about them or toe the company line. You won't hear me tell you that a product is hands down the best. Now the truth is, what's best for me may not be best for you. The way I hunt, where I hunt, my abilities and experience, and price all play into my choices. And I know it's the same way for you. Waders. They're a love-hate relationship with me. I'm sure many of you would say the same thing. When I first started duck hunting, we didn't have many options. But as technology has improved, my expectation has gotten a lot greater, and for the last 6 or 7 years, I've been on a quest to find that perfect wader. Is there such a thing? Well, what would make the perfect pair of waders for you? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you've used High and Dry, tell me about your experience. I bet y'all would be pretty surprised to know a little of the history of waders. Have you ever heard of Hodgman waders? Well, they're credited with inventing waders all the way back in 1838. Not 1938, 1838. It's true. Then they patented them in the 1850s. Now I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on all this, but as I looked through some of the old patents, I found it very interesting how things were improved with rubber and canvas waders over the 18 and 1900s. A while back, I was looking for something in my storage building, and I discovered some of my old waders that I had kept over the years. Honestly, I can't believe how many waders that I still had. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, why would I have all of those unusable waders? Dry rotted, leaky, torn? I've got the answer. I kept them all these years for you and this video. Okay, it's my story, I'm sticking to it. But today, I'm going to show you the progression that I've seen in technology throughout my lifetime. Because although waders have been around for over 180 years, they really haven't changed all that much except in the last 30 years. I wish I had my first pair of waders to show you. They were very similar to that pair right there, but they weren't camouflaged, just dark brown. Now that pair was likely my second pair of waders, canvas and rubber. I always took a change of clothes in those first several years of wearing those type of waders because I always fell down in the water every single time I wore them. It was very difficult to walk in them, and I was this little scrawny dude back in the day. These are hip boots. They were probably some of the most comfortable waders to wear at the time, if the water wasn't too deep. I wore them quite a bit. I remember my first pair of neoprene waders. They changed my life. I could actually walk easily in them without falling, and they were much warmer too. They were pretty thin, and they fit very tight, like a wetsuit. They had no protective coating on the outside of them, and I'm sure they only lasted one season. I remember them being ripped to shreds. The idea was great, just not very durable for hunting. In those early days, there were guys that would wear coveralls over the top of their neoprene waders just to protect them. Trash bags and duct tape were my friend. If you got a hole in your waders, you just fixed the leak as best you could and then bagged your legs up. As the years went on, different companies added protective coverings to the neoprene, and some even added fleece or other materials for warmth. While these improved things a lot, the trade-off was it made them stiffer, heavier, and harder to walk in. In about 2006 maybe, I was at the SHOT Show and saw Hodgman had some camouflage breathable waders. They looked so thin and fragile, I thought to myself, there's no way those would last 5 minutes with me hunting in them. Breathables were probably okay for fishing, but I actually never saw a serious hunter wearing breathables till about maybe 2013. I think I got my first pair of breathables in 2015. And over the next 3 years, I went through 7 pairs of waders. They were all terrible. I'd get a week or 2 out of them and then wet. I tried lots of brands. The worst was Bandit. Went through 2 pairs in a week. In the summer of 2018, I was introduced to Brian Terry of High and Dry. I was told his story of how he'd been looking for the perfect wader too. And after trying them all and being let down, he built his own. Brian was not a guy who was trying to make a product to sell. He was trying to save money for his business and help his employees. You see, he's a 4th generation waterman from the eastern shore of Virginia, spending more than 300 days a year in the water harvesting clams and oysters. It's the toughest environment there is that requires using waders. So this is where the story of High and Dry all started, huh?
So where we're standing right here, right now, is the clam capital of the world. There are more farm-raised clams produced in this town of Willis Wharf than anywhere else in the world.
I've spent many days with Brian and his crews on the clam and oyster beds and saw firsthand the harsh conditions and the way those guys abuse their waders.
When we're out trying to work in a commercial environment, it is some of the harshest conditions in the world that we put ourselves through.
I asked Brian before he started building waders, which ones did he try?
We've literally tried every single brand of waders on the market, from neoprene to breathables, every style, every brand, and can't find anything that will last in a commercial environment. So after years and years of getting the exact same results of leaky waders, leaky seams, a failed product, we needed something better. I took it upon myself to go and build a better tool that will allow us to do our job. So we scoured the globe. We learned everything there was to learn about a pair of chest waders. We did not have any boundaries on where we would go, what we would do to find the best of everything.
They pioneered new technologies and methods and went several steps further than other companies were willing to do and created the world's first industrial grade wader.
We over-engineered, we over-designed, we overbuilt to have a product that could withstand the abuse that we put them through in a commercial environment.
Overbuilt with high quality fabric, limited seams, advanced seam sealing technology, and Kevlar protection on the front of the wader. They're made to work in all day and be comfortable. He wasn't building waders to make a profit. He was building them to work for him. It was such a fascinating story to me. Brian told me that he had many of his duck hunting friends wanting to buy their waders. It was at that time he partnered with a lifelong friend, Ian McNair, and they made waders available to everyone. High and Dry was born.
You cannot come to the eastern shore of Virginia and not have a local delicacy. This is a wild oyster growing right here in the salt flats of Hog Island Bay. This is a freshly shucked, homegrown, Mother Nature's best wild seaside oyster.
And I've told you that I don't do raw.
I know you don't, but it's okay.
Okay.
Today you do. We're going to take this. So
Yeah.
I've already shucked the oyster.
Yeah.
The oyster has one eductor muscle, which is right here. I've already cut that loose from the shell, so your oyster is free and ready to be slurped down.
Slurp down.
You hold yours, I'll hold mine.
I'm gonna watch you do yours so I
Take
can see
this.
what you do.
Hold it right here. Delicacy. It's great. He does raw.
That wasn't that bad. I mean, honestly.
Raw is good.
Yeah, the salty thing is like, it's
The flavor.
yeah, that is good flavor.
After talking with Brian and Ian, I agreed to wear their waders for an entire season to see what I thought and give them feedback. So after just a few outings, I knew that they were the best pair of waders I had ever worn. The quality was very evident in their construction, and they're definitely tough. Were they perfect? Not perfect, but still better than anything I'd ever worn. So what's wrong with them? Not necessarily wrong, just preference. I'm not a fan of their shoulder straps. I'm just not. I'd rather have something that's not like the snap buckles, something a little bit more streamlined. It's definitely not a deal breaker for me. I mean, the waders fit, and they're comfortable, and they don't leak. With a price tag of $339, that's less expensive than all of the other companies' high dollar leaky waders, and a third of the price of their only real competitors. I'm tough on my gear, and I normally walk about 4 to 6 miles a day in waders with the hunting that I do in scouting. Through all types of vegetation, through the woods, I hunt about 80 days a year, and I'm going into my 4th season, and I've yet to have a wader fail from my high and dry waders. Okay, as promised, here's some tips for waders. Get a set of boot dryers and use them every time you're finished hunting in your waders. I tend to sweat in mine, and so if you put them in there, after a few hours your waders will be all dried out, then they're not going to be wet the next time you put them on. Number 2, if you hunt in a cold climate, buy a size too big and then add an insole. I started doing this several years ago. I like the Georgia boot insoles, but there's a lot of other really good insoles out there. Then I wear one thick pair of high quality wool socks like Darn Tough. Make sure that your feet are not too tight, and then you won't freeze. If you take your waders off like this, then when you're ready to put them back on, it just takes a few seconds and you're ready to go. It's especially helpful when wearing neoprene, which takes a little longer to put on. If you have leaky waders, no matter what brand they are, get a product called 3M 5200 or 4000 UV, also made by 3M. Make sure you get the fast cure because it will be ready to go overnight. In my experience, it works way better than Aquaseal and all of the other products that are made specifically for waders. I'll leave some links in the description for you. Should you wear neoprene or breathable waders? Well, wear neoprene waders if you hunt all morning in belly button deep water and it's cold. Otherwise, wear breathables and layer up. If you missed my video on layering, check it out right here. I'm Joel Strickland. God bless you, and I'll see you on the next video.